Welcome to Soul Knowledge. I'm your host, Rocky K of Tune In to Wellness. We are souls having a human experience, and this podcast is where we remember that. Your soul has lived lifetimes. It has a history, a purpose, and a wisdom that goes deeper than anything your mind can analyze. My work through Reiki, hypnotherapy, past life regression, subconscious healing, and intuitive transformation is to help you not just learn about your soul, but to actually know it. Here I'll be sharing real stories from real sessions, lessons from the unseen, and truth telling about what healing really looks like. The messy, mystical, holy, human, sometimes hilarious, often uncomfortable, absolutely life-changing parts of it all. And I'll warn you now, if you don't like the honest language or the occasional well-placed F-bomb, this is not the podcast for you. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can say is, fuck this, I'm done repeating this pattern. So let's take a breath. Tune in. Let go of what you think you know. And let's drop into the wisdom your soul's been trying to give you all along. Welcome home. Welcome to Soul Knowledge. Hello and welcome back to the Soul Knowledge Podcast. I am Rocky with Tune In to Wellness, and today there's something I want to talk about that I think really illustrates why hypnotherapy and past life regressions can be so powerful, and especially when we stop asking, like, was it real? And we start asking, why? Why did my soul choose to show me this? And at this time? So in my own regression work, I noticed there was a pattern that was coming up that came up more than once for me. I went into 2 different lifetimes where I was royalty and very different cultures, very different circumstances, but the emotional themes were strikingly similar. Like in both lives, I was protected but restricted. I was cared for, but I was contained. I was very much safe, but I was not free. And in one life, I experienced myself as an Egyptian princess. Kept close guard. I was not allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to go about and explore. And even though my soul wanted movement, curiosity, and experience, I felt so restricted and lack of freedom. And I was really restless in that life. And then in another life, I experienced as Mary Queen of Scots. And if anybody knows me, I have a total affinity to Mary Queen of Scots. So when I popped into this life, I was like, what the heck is happening right now? And we're going to get a little more into my personal thoughts on this. But first, when I was in this life where visibility and power came with constant threat and judgment, and in both lives though, they ended up the same way through execution. Man, my head was chopped off in these 2 different lives, right? But what surprised me wasn't really the ending. It was how I felt in the moments of death. When I was in there wasn't any panic. There wasn't fear. I was calm, almost relieved. And that, you guys, that's where the lessons really come in. And when I say I was calm, I'm going to tell you what, my blood pressure goes up more waiting in line at the grocery store than it did for me waiting to get my head chopped off in that life as the Egyptian princess. Well, I was a queen at that point, but it was so crazy because I was in this cellar, stone cold, and it was moist and wet, and it was wild how vivid it was. And I've never felt so many details and so much clear emotion when I've gone into a past life as I did in that one. And I was cool as a fucking cucumber. Let me tell you what. So when the subconscious shows things like this, though, it's not glorifying death. It's revealing a belief the soul once carried. And it's interesting because this is the belief is that this is the only way out, and I accept it. So it's not necessarily about wanting to die, it's about wanting that freedom. When I look at these lives symbolically, I realize that the common thread wasn't royalty or execution, it was containment and being protected in ways that felt suffocating. And I bet you all can start to see some connections here, and maybe even feeling that you've had some moments in this life where you were contained and you felt like you were being suffocated. In these lives, I was being loved, but not fully allowed to be myself. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Feeling responsible for other people's emotions, safety, and stability. Okay, hello, I'm a mother. And what's fascinating is how that pattern echoes into our present lives, right? And sometimes it's so subtle. But, a really good example as a child, when things felt really overwhelming or really unsafe, as a child, I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the power to fix what was wrong. So you know what my nervous system did? It went straight to the most final solution it could imagine. And if this just stopped, everything would be okay. And I'm not saying that's like as a dark thought, but that's a child's way of seeking peace. It's a seeking the peace when there feels like there's no way out. And I know that thought has been there, but that was how I thought as a child, and that these lives had taught that to me. And that's what's really cool, is that regression works to help people understand with compassion instead of judgment, right? And because when we trace the pattern back, we can see, it wasn't about anger. It wasn't about wishing harm. It was about a nervous system that really believed escape was the only relief. And here's where the healing part comes in. In this lifetime, my soul chose a very different experience, a life that involved movement, travel, leaving home. I married a man in the Navy. We have moved about, travel all the time, mostly going to Ohio to see my family because I do really love my family. But it was choosing freedom before choosing responsibility. I didn't need a dramatic ending to get out. I didn't need to disappear to be at peace. In this life, I was allowed to leave and live. And that is a kind of awareness regression can bring. It doesn't just show us who we've been. It shows us what we're finally learning how to do differently. These sessions help us understand why certain fears, reactions, or longings live so deeply in us, even when they don't seem to match our current reality. They help us see where our soul has been protecting us and where it's ready to evolve. And maybe the biggest lesson of all is this: we don't come back to these stories to relive them. We come back to them to finish them with more choice, more safety, more freedom than we ever had before. And I want to say this really clearly, because this is where people often underestimate the power of this work. Hypnotherapy and regression sessions aren't just about past lives. They're about patterns. And these patterns could be showing up easily in this life. They could be started in a past life. Our mind is going to show us exactly what it wants us to see, because they help us understand why certain emotions, reactions, or loops keep showing up, especially when we've tried everything else. So for example, these sessions can help you if you feel a deep longing for freedom, but also a guilt when you choose yourself. When you find yourself shrinking, softening, or holding back your truth, even when you know You are capable of so much more. How about when you feel responsible for other people's emotions, safety, or happiness? Maybe you carry anxiety or exhaustion you can't even really explain. You have a fear of being seen, judged, or misunderstood. Or you notice a pattern of wanting to escape when things feel heavy. Whether that's emotionally checking out, overworking, numbing yourself, or just wishing everything would stop. Having that deafening silence. What these sessions do is help you trace those feelings back, not to blame, not to relive, but to understand. And when you understand the origin of a pattern, your nervous system no longer has to work so hard to protect you. And then you gain choice and you gain compassion for yourself. And often things start to shift without force. Some people come in wanting clarity. Some people come in wanting peace. Some people come in feeling stuck, restless, or even disconnected from who they know they really are. And if you've ever had one of those moments where you're just like, this is not me, I am not showing up as myself, then yeah, I am talking to you. And what usually happens is they leave with a deeper understanding of themselves than they've ever had before. Not because I tell them who they are, because I don't do that, y'all, but because their own subconscious does. I guide you to those answers. That's the real power of this work. Your mind already holds the answers. Your soul already knows the story. And these sessions just simply create the space for that wisdom to rise to the surface safely, gently, and in a way that actually integrates into your life. And these sessions are deeply personal and can be deeply healing. And this healing can go on and pieces and parts start to show up. I mean, I did the Egyptian Queen session. I think that was last year. It was a year ago. And then I did the Mary Queen of Scots one like in September. So like there was a 9 months difference in those sessions. But my mind was continuing to tell me the same story in a different way. But it really wasn't until I got that second one, because hello, there's a pattern, right? That I was like, okay, this means something. What the heck, you know? And so I really had to sit with this for a while before I could really understand. And I really had to start to reflect and really understand the deeper meanings of these two different lives. So if you're listening to this and something in you feels seen, if a part of you feels like it's been quietly waiting for permission to understand yourself more deeply, that is not random. You don't need to believe in past lives. Because honestly, I really don't feel like I was Mary Queen of Scots. I really think it was just my mind showing me what it needed to see, and in a way that I could understand, because I know her story. I know her story very well. I have read so many books about her. I have watched movies, like Wikipedia, man, her all the way. Like, I know her story. But it was showing me in a way that I could understand. And then it was showing it to me twice and letting me make that connection, which that connection actually didn't happen immediately. Like, that was probably not until like a month or two after that I had that Mary Queen of Scots one that I'm like, wait a second, this isn't random. And because I really didn't believe I was Mary Queen of Scots, but I knew I needed to see that for a reason. So, like I said, you don't have to believe in past lives. You don't need to have some dramatic story. You just need to be curious, right? Curiosity and the willingness to listen inward. So if you're feeling called to explore this work, I'd love to support you. You can learn more or book a one-on-one hypnotherapy session or regression session with me through the link in the show notes. This isn't about changing who you are. Y'all, this is about remembering who you've always been, who you are at the soul level, without the patterns that no longer need to follow you into your future. So if this episode resonated with you and you're curious about what your own subconscious might be holding, you can find information about working with me. These sessions are so deeply personal. They're gentle, incredibly illuminating, and they often reveal exactly what you're ready to understand next. And I will tell you, the mind shows people the stuff in the coolest, craziest ways. Now, whether they are real life, I don't know. I really don't know. I know I have gone into past lives that I truly believe were some of my past lives. And then, like I said, this Mary Queen of Scots, like I don't feel that in my soul like I have some of the other ones. So your mind is going to go and show you what it needs to show you in the way that you can understand it. I'll tell you, I have people that are crazy creative and their mind shows them things in really cool ways. Anyways, my point is your mind is going to show you what you need to. My sessions can be done virtually or in person here in Virginia Beach. Until next time, I hope you take some moments to truly quiet the noise, connect with your soul, and live your days intentionally and with purpose and in the most authentic way. Take care. Enjoy all the magic around you. Thank you for tuning in and for doing this work, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to you. If this episode stirred something in you, trust that. Share it, leave a review, send it to someone whose soul needs it. Your voice and your ripple matter. And if you're ready to go deeper, to explore your past lives, heal your patterns, reconnect to your soul, or work with me one-on-one, head over to tuneintowellness.com or connect with me on Instagram. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and remember, your soul already has the answers. Be bold, be light, be you. I'll see you next time on Soul Knowledge.